TIF update by hooking up with professor's daughter. Link to original post short update, because I have taken the exam but I still don't know what's going on. I'm going to star out all the personal info because this blew up a lot more than I wanted it to, and I'd rather not turn this into a school-wide scandal. I shuffled into class, praying that my life wasn't about to be ruined by this professor. Thankfully, the TA came into the room and said, due to a family emergency, professor will not be proctoring today's exam. He will email you back with your graded exam by the end of Saturday. Right after the TA said this, she started handing out the tests. When she came to me, she gave me this look and laughed before giving me the exam. I thought, great. Now the administration probably knows. Anyways, I took the test and actually, I think I did pretty well. As soon as I got out of the room, I checked my email, it's a habit, and professor had emailed me. Below is the email without the names. And #X200B. And #X200B. Please meet my wife, myself, and the Dean of Academic Affairs in room in the building tomorrow at 1 p.m. There, we will discuss our situation and how to proceed. Thank you in advance for your understanding and cooperation. And #X200B. Best, Professor. And #X200B. I don't know what to think. First of all, I didn't do anything wrong. I have no idea why his wife is getting involved, but there was verbal and written consent, and if I need to, I can use the Tinder DM history to prove it. Also, his daughter has an IUD, so there's no way that this is going to turn into a pregnancy. The main thing I'm worried about is how this will affect my relationship with my professor and the administration. I guess I'll update again tomorrow after the meeting. And #X200B. And #X200B. TLDR, professor didn't show up. I took my text. Buddha emailed me saying he wants an administrative meeting. Edit. Okay. After reading comments about it possibly being his wife, his reaction in the meeting makes a lot of sense, and she never said anything about her and his relationship. However, I still very much hope that's not what happened, and I just terrified him at the thought of being his future son-in-law. TIFU by peeing off the side of a mountain. So I, 32M, and my girlfriend, 33F, were out enjoying our annual anniversary vacation. This year we had decided to do some hiking through Appalachia and had ended up in Red River Gorge, KY. The scenery is amazing, the weather was great. I figured I wasn't going to get a better opportunity to pop the question. Well, any gentleman knows better than to get down on one knee in the middle of the trail. You wait until you're at the highest peak. Unfortunately, nature called long before we got to that point. Now, every guy knows that the higher the ledge you pee off of, the more authority you have. So I found a pleasant little overlook, did my business and carried on with my proposal in mind. Along the way we passed a few other hikers, said our greeting and kept moving towards the top. Once we had reached the summit of this particular rock, she sat down and I tried to mentally prepare myself to get things just right. So once I'd gotten myself psyched up, I put my hand into my pocket and palmed the ring, knelt down in front of her, and she said, "I see your wiener." Turns I had forgotten to zip myself back up and the little flippy flaps of my boxer shorts failed to do their job. So there I am on one knee, trying to make this a memorable moment, and failing successfully. After flopping through the proposal, we stopped and realized that I may have flashed a few innocent hikers as well. TLDR, I went to pee off the side of a mountain, forgot to zip up, and props to my girlfriend with my ick out. She said yes. TIFU by hiring an ex-worker to have a threesome. This happened yesterday night. Me, 35M, and GF, 30F, have been in a steady relationship for about 7 years. Our ex-life has diminished quite a bit, but only in quantity, and not in quality. On average we have X once or twice a week, usually on weekends. When we do have Xy time, I'd say about 50% of those encounters are preceded by Xy talk. We talk about thing we would like to do, we show each other and we bookmark during the week specifically for these interactions, and we talk about fantasies. All of this really elevates the experience and has become a really fun tradition of ours. Lately, threesomes have been a recurrent topic in these conversations, either via orange showcasing, or fantasy theory crafting. But since usually there's X right after, I believe we both get hit with post-nut clarity and don't chase the subject further, so I decided to make it happen. We are mostly introverts, so meeting people while out and about was never going to make it happen, so I had to think of a different approach. And for this I would have to bring the topic up outside of our pre-sex talks. So I did, on a regular Tuesday evening. My proposal was met with shock, excitement, and some doubts. We put our fantasies, worries, and planning efforts on the table and we came to an agreement. Our first third wheel was going to me and M. We both tread a bit into the bi territory. It was up to me to contact and arrange this first meeting. This person has to be a trustworthy stranger to us both, and she gets to house a blindfold during the act, to enhance our who fantasy. And this is where I upped up. I decided to hire Apro, since dating apps were failing me. After a few days of scrolling through various local sites of male offerings, and the select few targeted at women, I found a guy about our age, had threesomes. In his description, masseuse, and not incredibly huge in every area. I contacted the guy, he seemed real chill and down to earth, talked about what we wanted to do, and he was on board. A bit over budget, but I seemed to have found exactly what I was looking for. I let my GF know that Saturday was the day. I don't tell her who is coming, or where I found this person, just that it's a he, and is coming Saturday night. Saturday night comes. We decided to use fake names for ourselves, because why not, we are newbies at this. She gets into her favorite lingerie, blindfold at hand, and the doorbell rings. I go down, open the door, meet the guy. He's as calm as seemed on text. I explain our rules again, and we go up to the apartment. I won't go into much detail here, but we had the time of our lives. You could feel the levels of excitement going through the roof. My GF didn't take the blindfold off the whole time, and I could tell she was really enjoying that aspect. The whole thing was over in about an hour. Guy goes into the bathroom with his stuff to clean himself and get ready to leave. Meanwhile I stay in bed with GF, she takes the blindfold off, and we talk a bit. Both of us are in ecstasy, and in a very happy mood. A few minutes later, Guy comes out of the bathroom and locks eyes with GF. She looks at him and says a name, not the advertised guy's name, out loud with clear surprise in her voice. He, with the same amount of shock as her, calls my GF by her real name. And they start laughing uncontrollably. Turns out this person was an ex of my GF. The shame inside me was already immense, when he turned to me and said, "You know, I could have done this for free." We are still in shock about it all, and while I think it will not permanently damage our relationship, I do think this was our first and last sexual endeavor involving other people. And #X200B, TLDR, I hired a sex worker to have a MFM threesome with me and my GF, and he turned out to be my GF sex. And #X200B. Quick update to respond to those questioning the Clark Kent situation with the blindfold. They had a brief relationship about 10 years ago. I believe they dated for about 3 months, and her body has changed since then. There wasn't talking at all, we went straight to business. I honestly believe it iced hard to recognize someone from moaning and grunting alone. Also, the room was dim-lighted. It could also have been professionalism on his side, to not say anything unless 100% sure. If Heck knew as soon as he saw her and said something, he may have risked breaking the moment and possibly misking for a refund. TIF update. I cuckolded my professor. You guys wanted an update, so here it is. Over the last couple hours, I have gone from being terrified of possibly getting sued to possibly becoming a school legend. Unfortunately, a few of my friends found my Reddit post, and because of the class name and my professor being absent, they know exactly what happened. Anyways, here's the update. Right after making the last post, I got an email saying that the meeting had been changed. Everyone involved was supposed to meet a little later in a noise-proof room. BC, they didn't want anyone else at O here or get involved. Anyways, we met at around 2:30, and the professor and the Dean of Academic Affairs sat across from. Like many of you predicted, his wife, the person who I now know was the daughter that I hooked up with, walked in, with a ring this time. Luckily, she and the professor didn't try to make any claims, like assault or malicious intent. Surprisingly, the meeting was pretty quiet and simple. 2 other professors would evaluate the class exams instead of professor to ensure fairness. Under the student handbook, the professor, if they have an issue with a student, is required to submit all of my previous exams, class materials to the administration for evaluation. Probably obvious, but the scheduling office will put me into another professor's class next semester. I know that the meeting went as well as it could, but my situation is far from perfect because my friends found the posts and have told a large portion O4 friend group. AMN casual Tinder hookups. TLDR. Cuckolded my professor. Got off easy BC of administrative intervention, but now my friends know about what happened and will likely spread it.